Starting at 5 o'clock with breaking news, emergency crews in Erie are responding to a small plane crash. The Erie Police Department says this happened just east of the runway at the Erie Airport. No word yet if anyone is hurt or how many were on board. We do have a crew on the way. We'll bring you updates as soon as we learn more. Our other top story of the day, though, is the weather. It started out really chilly, kind of frosty in Denver and across the eastern plains. Turned out to be a beautiful fall day. Tomorrow, the weather takes a turn. Strong winds are elevating our fire danger. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Phil Lipoff. Let's get straight over to 9 News Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. And Kathy, you're tracking a lot, as Kim mentioned, from freezing, low temperatures to fire danger.
Yeah, that is Colorado in the fall. You know, we started today at 28 degrees and warmed to 76. And yesterday, that wind was ferocious, but that was just an appetizer for what's coming tomorrow. You wouldn't know it, but we are tracking a powerful storm system. It's on the way from the north and west. Now, so far today, travel is just fine on I-25 and I-70. No issues. Temperatures are nice and comfortable with southwest winds pushing us close to 80 degrees this afternoon, way above average. But the winds will be increasing out of the southwest and then shifting out of the northwest. Gusts of 50 miles per hour are possible with low humidity, and that means extreme fire weather conditions tomorrow. And you can't tell there's something coming right here, but this is the system here just outside of the Salt Lake City area. It's going to move so quickly over Colorado tomorrow, and we might even have a little bit of mountain snow tonight, but no advisories for snow or for travel. So we have fair skies in Denver. We'll get some increasing clouds, and then look what happens about 4 o'clock in the morning. We get that cold front approaching from the northwest with a little bit of snow and a whole lot of wind for the Front Range. Temperatures over the next few hours, very nice for anything you might have planned outdoors. Weather headlines, we have light mountain snow coming in tonight for the northern section of the kind of that elevated terrain. That's kind of the focus area for us. The critical fire weather is really going to be the big story because of the extreme wind. So I will have the timing and impact of all of it coming up.
Thanks, Kathy. The National Weather Service in Boulder is asking for your input on changes to its alert system in Arapahoe County. NWS is proposing a partial county alerting system for that county. PCA provides more accurate location weather alerts. They can be transmitted through NOAA's weather radio and the emergency alert system. NWS says that means the alert is more relevant to your area. NWS is accepting public feedback through October 22nd.
The ceasefire in Gaza is facing its first major test today after both sides accuse the other of violating the agreement. Israel stopped the transfer of aid into the territory today after its military said troops came under fire from Hamas in southern Gaza. Two Israeli soldiers were killed there. Israel responded with several strikes, killing at least 29 people. Egyptian leaders are now working to de-escalate the situation. It comes as Israel identified the remains of 2 hostages released overnight. Hamas has handed over the remains of 12 hostages in the last week. Israel is still pressuring Hamas to return the remains of all 28 hostages killed. Meantime, Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to lead a delegation to discuss implementing Phase 2 of the ceasefire deal. At the same time that is happening, advocates who have spent the last 2 years calling for the release of all the Israeli hostages celebrated today.
Run for Their Lives has hosted walks in Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. The group says that now that the 20 living hostages are free, they'll pivot their mission. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us from Wash Park, where the group gathered there today. Janelle?
Kim, Phil, dozens gathered in the park today to celebrate the return of those 20 hostages, but they say that the work doesn't end here. Run for Their Lives in Colorado say they've walked every week since November 2023. That was more than 100 weeks ago. During their walks, participants carried photos of hostages calling for their releases. Denver lead Maya Bajayo was in disbelief when she heard Hamas freed 20 people this past Monday.
My phone kept like buzzing and ringing, and I was crying. I was happy. It's hard to explain in words after such a long time. But obviously we were elated, and there was like great joy and happiness.
The group says they'll no longer be hosting weekly walks, but Run for Their Lives isn't going anywhere. They'll now start hosting events and continue to call for the release of all the hostages, including the ones that died, to be returned to Israel. Live in Washington Park, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
All right, thank you, Janelle.
A Colorado Springs police canine stabbed last week is finally out of the vet. Rome was critically injured while officers were trying to take a barricaded suspect into custody. The incident sent Rome immediately to an emergency clinic for surgery. Vets actually had to remove one of his hind legs to stop the bleeding. The police department held a procession for the canine through the Springs yesterday.
Aurora City Council is expected to give a vote on resolution that would allow the police department to use racial recognition technology. Aurora Police says the technology could solve crimes faster, improve officer safety, and help with identifying missing or at-risk people. Facial recognition relies on software to compare a photo of a suspect to a database of pictures. Critics note that it does not always get it right and that it struggles in particular with people of color. A state law requires public input and a report on it before it's approved. Council's regular meeting is scheduled to start at 6:45 tomorrow night.
Meantime, Denver City Council will once again consider more resolutions tied to the city's homeless services. The city's Community Planning and Housing Committee is proposing a pair of resolutions that would add more than $4 million for homeless shelter services. 3 other resolutions extend contracts with providers for rehousing services. And the final adds $1 million to continue funding the Denver Rescue Mission. The city has already spent more than $200 million through the All-In Mile High program. Also tomorrow, Mayor Mike Johnson is expected to deliver his final proposed budget to the city council. A major shakeup in Fort Collins to tell you about as well. Colorado State announcing today they fired head football coach Jay Norvell.
Yeah, Chris Tavares joins us now. This is kind of a stunner. I mean, I think we knew that he might be in trouble. They're not having a great season, but mid-season?
Yeah, not totally surprising, but given the way things were going, it kind of makes sense. This year's struggles, a big part of the decision to fire Norvell in the middle of his 4th season, but another big factor is the school's move into the Pac-12 conference next year, wanting to head into that new conference with a lot of momentum, but a 2-5 start to the season kind of forcing their hands. Norvell had the program on a great trajectory through his first 3 seasons, improving from 3 wins to 5 to 8 wins last year and a berth in the Arizona Bowl. But this year's struggles were just too much to overcome, including last night's 31-19 loss to Hawaii during homecoming. He leaves Colorado State with an 18-26 overall record, 13-13 in Mountain West play. In the interim, Tyson Summers, who's the defensive coordinator, will take over, and his first game is going to be a rivalry game, the Border War in Laramie against Wyoming on Saturday. But because of what Norvell had done and the trajectory he had this program on, I thought he could weather a rough storm like he was having to start this season. And especially after they beat Fresno State last week, I thought that was going to be the spark to kind of turn things around, bought him some more time. But a bad loss to a solid Hawaii team at home, homecoming game, a record homecoming crowd, just seemingly too much to overcome. There was a lot of chatter. Fans, alumni were unhappy with the direction of the program this year, and they had to make the move.
Yeah, and you always wonder what the impact is, like as they're looking ahead and recruiting and everything else. But, you know, I don't know.
You try and salvage the season as best you can. They still have a shot at making a bowl game. They've got, I believe, 5 games left, so they got to win 4 of those 5 to qualify for a bowl game for the 2nd year in a row. Last time they'd been to a bowl game was 2017. Last time they'd won 8 or more games was 2014. So he'd done some big things in his first 3 years, but the bottom was kind of falling out this season.
And timing is everything. It wasn't surprising, but
You try and get ahead of it on the coaching search. You try and salvage your recruiting class, salvage the season, salvage your roster. You don't want players entering the portal and then losing all this talent.
That's the other thing,
But that is seemingly inevitable, winning or losing. Same head coach, new head coach. There's just always so much roster turnover.
Speaking of salvaging, there is some other football news we are covering right now. The Broncos are trying desperately to pull off an improbable comeback in the final moments of the game, as we are keeping a very close eye on it. They are losing to the Giants 26-23, have scored all of their points in the 4th quarter. They're a good 4th quarter team. We're going to have highlights coming up for you later on in the show, highlights, lowlights, depending on how you think of it. Yeah.
They're making it a little too close.
They're
if
in
they
it
and
right
if they
now, though.
lose, they're going to be equally angry at themselves.
Yeah, they're either going to be mad at the slow start and having to make Mount of Furious come back, or mad that the slow start and the Furious comeback wasn't enough.
Slow is kind. I would say sloppy, right?
Yeah.
There were some sloppy plays.
Win or lose, I don't think they're going to be too happy. They'll be happy if they pull out the win, given the way things were going. But Sean Payton's going to be angry with the way most of this game is looked.
Fingers crossed. Just a couple minutes left.
We'll see. But before the game got started, the Broncos it was a great day in many ways. They honored late wide receiver Demaryius Thomas with a place in the team's Ring of Fame. And they unveiled the pillar outside Empower Field, right next to Peyton Manning's. That was his mom who reached up and touched his face. DT passed away in 2021. He ranks second all-time in team history for receiving yards and touchdowns. He also helped lead Denver to its Super Bowl 50 championship. His memory was shared by Broncos past and present.
He brings that peace with his smile. And so when they unveil that smile is that symbolism of peace that he had in him. And everybody, every single fan, every single day, whenever they want to come here before every game, they can go and see that smile.
And DT was honored at halftime. His name unveiled on the Ring of Fame inside the stadium. Also on the field, the team's Super Bowl 50 winning team. We'll have much more on that later on.